Never thought I'd be saying these words, but Blockbusted is back. Yes, the critically acclaimed 2010 blockbuster that was Blockbusted will return for its second installment later this year with, obviously, headlined by my fantastic cast of characters, both new and old, and well, this one's for all the marbles, basically. Now, there have been a lot of really iconic moments for Bali Productions in the last year or so, you know, me coming out of retirement in general, me making the first Blockbusted, and then, I think, not to be forgotten is the fact that the Movie Hero franchise came out of retirement for its fourth installment last year. That was a huge milestone because Movie Hero, obviously, was my premier franchise. It was the franchise that kind of put me on the map for the first few years of my career, and now we're kind of looking at another new franchise kind of getting reinvigorated. Blockbusted has the potential to be another one of those kind of things. I mean, this is, perhaps, we're watching history in the making here, with the second installment of Blockbusted being even better than the first. So, I mean, where else can I go with that story? That's probably what you're all wondering. Well, the ending of Blockbusted was really interesting because, it was kind of like one of those little happily ever after endings, but kind of the point of this movie is that life goes on after the movie, you know? So many movies end and you don't really know what happens to the characters, you know? It's like this happy ending, Bobby continues making movies, everything's great, you know, see you guys later, but life goes on. And that's what this movie's about. You know, it's a year later now, you know, you assume he's still been making movies all this time, him and Frankie. And, you know, what's been happening ever since, and what's going to happen next, basically. That's what this movie starts with, and then it just turns into something completely different. So, fans of the original Blockbusted, in some ways you might be a little bit surprised by what I do here. They're still your characters, still the Movie Hero, still Zach Masters, still, yours truly, yet again. Frankie returns in a very similar role. He'll be familiar to all of you. And after that, though, there's just complete new cast. Alex Kuvalenka voices and acts as my friend Charlie. Then we have Arkaya Shuleshko from last year's production, but he'll be a completely different character. Not revealing too much on that right now. And basically, the movie, the similarities are not nearly as numerous as the differences. The differences between the first Blockbusted and this sequel are just astronomical. As far as the tone of the movie, this is a much darker movie than pretty much anything I've ever done. This deals with a lot of issues that really do affect me on a personal level, and I think you'll get that in the movie. I mean, not to say that Blockbusted, the original, didn't have some moments of self-reflection. The original Blockbusted was really an interesting story in that it wasn't planned as meticulously as this one was, or as meticulously planned as any other movie. So, some of the serious moments in Blockbusted, the original, were kind of an afterthought. You know, originally it was just kind of this, you know, simple, kiddie comedy movie, and then I kind of started adding plot twists, and I started adding different things, but really that movie was progressing as it went along, you know? I always think, had Blockbusted taken longer to film, maybe we would have had even more scenes, but I mean, it's already my longest movie to date, so we can't really complain about the amount of content, but certainly, Blockbusted 2 expands upon that. There's just all kinds of moments ranging from serious to comedic. And yeah, you know, I talk about this be-all, end-all movie, but yeah, it is still made up of a lot of Bobby Productions moments, if you will. Just silly little moments that, you know, make the movie fun, make it unique. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's a really weird movie to classify. It's funny, it's serious. It's funny, it's serious. It's dark, it's light, it's whatever. It is really all over the place. I'm trying to showcase some variety here, as far as just being able to do different things. I mean, we've all seen that I can do a pretty decent comedy movie, and pretty decent action movie. This movie kind of spreads the action out more. I think what stands out to me in this movie, though, is just the story structure. It seems like in every movie of mine, you know, it's just the generic, the movie starts slow, then gets more intense, then gets more intense, and then there's like some big battle or something. I kind of broke it up with the Movie Hero Forever, which I actually really liked because I had this intense battle in the middle, but then I never really resolved it, you know, like it was just kind of like this huge battle with William, and then, you know, things kind of calm down for a while. William comes back at the end of the movie, but there's not really the same kind of intense battle. That's like the one rare example where my biggest battle is actually not at the end of the movie, but in the middle of the movie. And I can't say that happens again in this movie, but there's just tons of there's so many conflicts in this movie that it's not like as obvious as, oh, he's going to fight this villain at the end. You know, there's just so much more going on in this movie than I've ever had going on. So there'll be moments where it gets really, like, you know, intense. There'll be moments where it gets kind of relaxed. There'll be moments where something happens that you weren't even thinking about in the beginning of the movie. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff like that. And that's part of making a 2-hour movie. That's part of why I wanted to make a 2-hour movie. Not just to make one, but because the more time you have to captivate your viewers' interest, the more time you have to throw in stuff like that. You know, if it's only a 50-minute movie, chances are everyone's going to remember what happened 50 minutes ago. But now you're talking about doubling, maybe tripling that. You know, the first 50 minutes of the movie could be very different than the next 50 minutes and the 50 minutes after that. So, you know, your audience is constantly being introduced to new things throughout the course of this movie. And by the end of the movie, it's just such a different beast than the beginning. I guess you could say that about any long movie, but Blockbuster 2 really kind of, like, toys with you. Like, where is this going? And trust me, it goes. It goes in some really weird directions. I don't think any of you are going to be expecting this. Really, besides dark and sinister and serious, the other word I could use to describe this movie is bizarre. This movie is very bizarre for me. You know, I mean, it makes sense to an extent, but I mean, there's just so much going on, and it's, some of it you just have to really suspend your disbelief, but that's kind of what makes it fun at the same time. It's good Coke. Anyway, I just produced this rant because I wanted to talk to my fans, my #1 fan, and naturally, you know, the way that Say Goodbye reacted to Blockbuster was just amazing. He really liked that movie, and there were a lot of directions I could go if I was going to make another movie, which I am, and I don't know, for some reason Blockbuster 2 kept coming up in my mind. I'm like, well, could I really do a Blockbuster 2? And I'm like, well, think about, you know, the kind of reaction you'd get from your fan if you were to come up with a Blockbuster 2. So it was really just a simple matter of adding in more characters and just going for broke, basically. So Blockbuster 2 is just kind of a combination of ideas that hopefully will please everybody as much as the first Blockbuster did, if not a lot more. So anyway, there's still a lot more work to be done on Blockbuster 2, so I'm a little bit short on details. I'll be talking about the movie all during the summer. I'll be releasing updated trailers as I get the footage, and hopefully sometime around September I should have a release date for you guys. So, stay tuned to Bobby Productions 2011. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up around the corner. Blockbuster 2 just being one of the projects I'm working on. So, have a nice day, everybody. From Bobby Productions 2011, happy summer.